Hi everyone, this is a short demo on container as a service. In this demo, we'll be showing container automation. We'll be so these are the following use cases that we'll be demonstrating. So this covers both the physical provisioning of the container resource pools, which is the Docker engines, and this also covers the application deployment on top of containers. So the specific use cases are like physical resource pool creation, wherein a Docker engine is deployed on a bare metal server. Virtual resource pool creation, which is in which like a Docker machine is instantiated on a virtual machine and then added to its corresponding Swarm cluster. And we'll be showing a deployment, automatic deployment of one of the application, which is the GSC dashboard application written in Django. This will automatically be provisioned on top of a container. Another example that we'll be showing is the MongoDB application provisioning on top of the container. Also, apart from the application provisioning, we are also showing the site scope integration, wherein it can talk to the Swarm clusters and pull in the information about the container resource utilizations. Okay. So before we start the demo, I just wanted to explain like what would be the prerequisites for building up this demo. First of all, 2 Swarm clusters should be existing. So one Swarm cluster will be managing all the bare metal resource pools, and another Swarm clusters will be managing the virtual resource pools. So the idea behind this is like in many of the enterprises will have like the prod and dev environments. So for not so critical workloads, we can use the virtual resource pool for our development and testing purposes, and for the production purposes, we can use the production pool there. The other prerequisites is that the Docker trusted registry is already installed and configured. All the images during the application provisioning will be pulled in from this DTR. CSA is the automation engine. This software should be like installed and configured prior to the setup. And the virtual resource pool that we just spoke about will be deployed out of the existing ESX cluster. So ESX cluster will be acting as a resource pool within CSA. So ESX cluster should be existing prior to the demo. Okay. Next I'll be quickly showing how one of the bare metal server will be provisioned, and how we'll push Docker engine to it and make it part of the Swarm cluster. We have like several components here. The top left component here is the CSA portal, wherein user requests are originated, and we have a CSA vCenter, SA for server automation for pushing OS images, O for the automation. So we have like Swarm Manager 1, Swarm Manager 2 already set up, like I explained in the prerequisites. Swarm Manager 1 manages the physical cluster, which is the prod cluster, and Swarm Manager 2 manages the dev cluster. So apart from this, we have the site scope and Docker private repo. On the left here, we are seeing an enclosure which is like filled with bare metal servers, server 1 and server 2. ESX 1 and 2 are for the virtual machines, or the virtual resource pools. So the flow begins like this. So the user will opt for the physical opt to deploy the physical server or the physical resource pool, the request is accepted by O. O contacts SA, which is the server automation. SA picks up one server automatically from the resource pool, and it will install OS on top of that particular server. Once the OS is installed, that server credentials and access details are passed back to O, so that like O will install Docker engine on top of the server. Now the server is ready with the Docker engine. The next step is to actually join to the Swarm cluster. So based on the type of the server role, O will identify the Swarm cluster here, whether is it the prod cluster or dev cluster. That will be decided by O based on the server type. Since this is a physical server, currently it identifies Swarm Manager 1. So it will register server 1 with Swarm Manager 1. So once that server is part, it will be part of the prod cluster. So this is how physical server is added to the prod cluster. Okay, so I'll just quickly switch to the end user portal from where user can request all these things. This is the end customer facing portal. What you're currently seeing is the dashboard. The end user gets to choose a list of services offered through the browse catalog option. There are like multiple services published here. Some of the Docker related services are published in this particular category in our case. So we have several services published here. So this particular service here deploys a virtual resource pool, and this particular resource here deploys a physical resource pool. So we'll just go with the virtual resource pool in the interest of time. So requesting to add like another virtual resource pool to the existing cluster is as simple as like selecting this and clicking this button and submitting this request. So this request is now being executed, and it will go to the background. So once this is complete, we can see that we can see the status here. So this is in the deploying state here, what we just requested. After some time, this will become online. That is when this will be totally part of the existing cluster. This will take a few minutes to deploy. Meanwhile, I'd quickly like to show the application deployment. Again, I'm going to the browse catalog, selecting the category here. So we have published two application services. One is the GSC dashboard app, and another one is the deploy MongoDB app. So let me start with the GSC dashboard app here. So this is a simple app developed for our team. This is written in Django. What we have here is like we have one option here. We have an option so that the end user can pick whether to deploy this particular app on the physical resource pool or the virtual resource pool. Like I explained, the physical resource pool can be used for the development, for the production environments, and the virtual resource pool can be used for any of the development and testing purposes. So once we select that, we can just say submit request, and again this as well will go to the background, and this will start deploying. This will just take a minute for this to get updated. So meanwhile, I'll just deploy another application service as well. We just deployed dashboard. I'll deploy the MongoDB as well currently. Okay, so this one again, we get an option.
3.
Okay, so the end user can select to either deploy it on the physical resource pool or on the virtual resource pool. So, okay, submit request. Okay, so far like we've submitted like 3 new service requests. So if we go to the My Services, we can see. So the GSC dashboard which we just deployed is online. That means it is already deployed. The virtual machine is still going on. Let me just refresh and see if we can see the MongoDB as well. Okay, I'll just open this again. Okay, so cool. We have both MongoDB and JSC dashboard online already. So now let's see like how to access the apps that we just requested for. So here it will give us like more details on the MongoDB service that we just deployed. So the cluster name that it was deployed on is on the prod swarm, and the MongoDB URL to access that is this one, the port and node IP details. So I'll just try to access the MongoDB link. Now it has connected to that particular MongoDB container instance, and as you're seeing it is pulling some of the basic metric information from that MongoDB instance. So this shows that a MongoDB container was actually instantiated and it is up and running fine, and the connections, the network connections to the MongoDB is also fine. So that's about the MongoDB container application provisioning. And quickly on the JSC dashboard app that we just deployed. Again, this is another Django app. Here we can see like more details like the application URL and the cluster name. We can access this application right from here.
Start.
Yeah, so this is the application that we just deployed, the GSC dashboard. So there is a Django application. So this is again deployed on the same virtual cluster. Now I'll just move back to the services. We see that the virtual machine thing is still deploying. This is because this is a little bit lengthier process. The steps involved are actually to clone a existing Red Hat template in the Linux, in ESX, and then some of the post configurations has to happen once the Red Hat OS is up and running, and after that we need to push or install the Docker packages and then make it join to the Swarm cluster. So this will take like 10-15 minutes. So we'll show this once once this deployment is completed. Now I'll just quickly show the site scope integration. So as you see here, we have added a site scope monitor for the existing Swarm cluster. We can see more details in this unified console here. Okay, so in this one, we can see detailed reports I mean, detailed view of all the clusters and containers. So currently we have like only one Swarm cluster, which is 15.215.17.143, and there is like one node as part of that cluster, which is doc_vm93, and these are the VMs that are currently running on that particular cluster. So each of these box is a container, and it is actually monitoring several parameters within that container. Now you can see like several red here. It's because like it is alerting the status of some of the metrics here. So for example, here memory and CPU, it is showing red because it has crossed the threshold. So for demo purposes, we've set the threshold very low, so that it can show up various the health of like various metrics here. So the green ones are like are in a good condition, but the red ones are beyond, have crossed the threshold. So that is the reason why we are seeing red in these many containers. Okay, and yeah.
Start.
Yeah, so these are the various metrics that can pull out from the Swarm cluster. We can also generate reports based on various parameters from this. So that also we can extract from Sitescope. Now getting back to the user portal, let's see if this is deployed. So yeah, so the virtual machine resource pool creation is deployed now. Let's go ahead and see like the details. So here we can see the host name of the Docker engine that we've just deployed, and the IP address, which is like 17.132. Okay. Okay. So and it has. So you can like see various details of this, like the memory size and others. I just wanted to quickly show in the Swarm cluster that this node has indeed joined to the existing Swarm cluster here. So as you've seen, like 108 was already existing. 132, which is the new VM that we just deployed, is now part of the Swarm cluster and is ready to host the containers. Okay, so that's about automating the deployment, the resource pool deployment, and the application deployments. So to conclude this, I just want to show the products that we've used for these solutions. So to start with CSA, which serves as the self-service portal and self-offering catalog. O is the orchestration engine. SA is the server automation engine, which pushes the OS. Sitescope for monitoring. Docker engine for container provisioning. Swarm for the cluster management. Registry for the images. VMware for the ESX cluster management. And this is the hardware and software inventory that we have in our solution now.
So, folks, this concludes this recording, and if you need anything else, you can contact us. And this video is a compendium to the main slide set, which we will be providing.